It's about that time. What's happening
What a
in your city?
wonderful day today here in beautiful Copart, and I, for one, couldn't be more happier than to be here with my good friend, State Rep Michelle Cook. Good afternoon, Michelle.
Good afternoon, Jacque.
And you know, it's a shame that we have to wear these masks. I mean, I'm not complaining, but you guys can't see the big smile I have on my face. Because every time we're able to have a conversation with Michelle, she always enlightens us and gives us hope about restoring true integrity and trust to our government. So thank you for taking time out to speak with us today.
Thank you for coming out today. What a great day.
It was. And tell us a little bit, share with us a little bit about your thoughts in organizing this.
We thought it was important for folks to know that this is clearly, not that people are not paying attention, but this is election season. And I know that we've all been cooped up for very long. We had a primary a month ago, but we have to not forget that there is a big election coming up in November. And it was really about kind of energizing the spirit and saying, hey, look, don't forget, it's that time of the year. Have conversations, ask questions, and just kind of generate some energy behind it. Because as we're all kind of still cooped up in some ways, it's nice to be able to get people to roll down their window and see a human person and wave and smile and have some people honk the horns and let people know that we are still part of the community, even though they can't necessarily have that one-to-one with us like we would have traditionally done in years past.
Well, Michelle, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on right now. Everyone is kind of anxious to see what's going to be happening here the next couple of weeks, to see how things interact with our school-age children. Talk to us a little bit about some of the things that concern you, especially in terms of the governor's executive orders.
So I understand that we have some frustration, and then there's also some confusion and some angst. But right now, the state is about 85% open in the big scheme of things. And what the governor did was extended his order. The frustration for us as legislators is we are a part-time legislative body. We don't have the ability to just call ourselves in. We have got to be, in theory, sequestered back in from the governor. And for us, what it ends up doing is we have to be able to figure out a way to push back on some of those things that we're not comfortable with. But our hands are kind of tied. Unlike the federal government, when they're there year-round, we aren't. Although I work year-round, and since pandemic, it's been much more than, in other. But so, there are some protections by extending that order. And, those protections come into healthcare and some federal reimbursements and letting, we see restaurants that have been able to move their tables out into the middle of the streets. That gives the flexibility under the governor's executive order. You've got municipal leaders, not all municipal leaders, but municipal leaders that are saying, it helped us lighten some of the red tape. And then how can we move forward by what we've learned? A lot of this does, in some theory, have to come down to federal reimbursement and funding. But at the same time, we also want to ensure that we can get the schools what we need. So PPE and those reimbursements, so that burden does not fall on the back of local taxpayers in that regard. The federal government has grants and things for that. And so that's really a bigger component of this. And I know people get frustrated. It's not all about money. We have restaurants open. I would like to see the capacity go up a little bit and see what that happens. But I also think that there's an element that now that schools are in session, we need to give them, a couple of weeks to get into the true mix of it all, and let's see how that looks. And then from there, because we've seen what's happened on some college campuses, not all. And let's really see what those first few weeks of school look like, and then let the governor talk about phase 3.
And please, Michelle, address some of the difficulties that would ensue if you had to take each of these orders and vote on them separately.
So what ends up happening is, everybody has an opinion. We're elected to represent the views of the people, but at the same time, when you put 150 or 160, 170 folks between the House and the Senate in to vote on every individual item, what ends up happening is the coverage and the protections that we have from the feds right now would lapse. We would have no coverages and no protections. And so if we did not move in a manner of efficiency to be able to vote on the numerous amounts that are in there, then we would end up without anything. And God forbid something went wrong, we would have to turn around and start from scratch all over again.
Well, and I think this is something I think a lot of people are grappling with, because there's this prevailing sentiment that government can't be trusted. And when you're dealing with a national public health crisis, trust and credibility is the number one component in administering effective resources and solutions. As a candidate, Michelle, and as a tenured candidate, do you see that as an issue? And if you do, how can you, going forward, ensure your constituency that they can trust you?
You know, I think that regardless of what year it is, I'm still the same person that I've always been. This is my community. I've been in this community since 1994. I've raised 4 children here. We've gone to the public school. People know who I am. They can see me in the grocery store, at a ball game, you know, you fill in the blank. And it's about accessibility and knowing the person. I think that that's where sometimes government and politics gets lost, because the difference between state government, local government, and then federal government is really about the accessibility and about how you know that person in an intimate manner. And for me, it's really about the exact same thing. You know me. And if you have a question about or a concern, pick up the phone, stop at my house, stop me in the grocery store, or what have you. You know, it is about that. And I think that that's really what makes the difference in this conversation. We can't pick up the phone always and get a hold of that one person at the top of the helm, but you can reach us. And that's how I navigate through some of this. I think it's vitally important, though, for people to realize that it's about the person in a lot of cases, and especially local.
Well, Michelle, I thank you for your time today. We're living in some very challenging times, but I think that more than anything else, and I'm sure that you understand this is a learning moment. This is a teachable moment. This is an opportunity to restore some of those basic concepts and policies in our government structures that used to be diehards and strongholds that in some way, shape, or form are not so available to the accommodations of the American people. So I know how very invested you are into making sure that you are listening to your constituents. And I think in this day and age, that's an extremely important component.
Well, you know, and I think that moving into the next 2 years, that it's going to be about the experiences that are able to get us through some of the most difficult times that we've seen. You know, I've been at the state capitol when we had the biggest deficit, and we had to figure out and make some horribly difficult decisions. But at the same time, being able to bring, you know, $250 million worth of grants and funding back to the city of Torrington while we're still dealing with a crisis at the state level. And knowing the vital importance of what those decisions and the repercussions of those have made, it is going to be challenging times. And I think that if we can all just take a step back from the angst and the anxiety and focus on what really matters to each and every one of us, and have patience and respectful conversations, that's what's going to get us through the next so many days.
Ladies and gentlemen, 65th State District Rep Michelle Cook, bringing it to you right here from beautiful Copart in the heart of downtown Torrington. We want to once again acknowledge our sponsor, Toth Insurance Agency, located at 1151 East Main Street. Better protection, better value. Check them out on the website. In the meantime, you guys stay tuned for more good stuff coming at you right here from City Views.